Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion's the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world.
Things work differently now.
Never fear, that's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek knowledge to build a great life.
After all, we only get the one that we know of, so we better make most of it.
Yeehaw!
Well, fellas.
Well, hello.
That was kind of the Alex Jones / gold prospector / something opening that I didn't know we needed, but now I can't imagine living without it.
I feel like everyone is retroactively clamoring for it.
I don't think people out there in Radioland understand how hot it is in our houses right now because we had to turn off the AC to podcast. So we're we're hallucinating a little bit. So
yeah, and we're also suffering from smoke inhalation from California.
California, seriously, can you come get your smoke?
It's not safe for us here.
Yeah,
we have delicate lungs.
Fire sucks, but I really don't appreciate the smoke, okay? Can you come get it? I'm going to be a Utah Karen.
Yeah, rake your forests, California.
Yeah,
Jesus.
rake your fucking forests. Well, anyway, we got a show.
Yeah.
Woo! It's a fun one.
Yeah,
it's a fun one.
I had a good time.
I can say that I don't think anybody's going to cry.
Yeah.
There are no trigger warnings to think of except the opening, which I couldn't warn you about beforehand.
I have a bit of a trigger warning in that mine does involve sexual assault in it.
There is a sexual assault, but when you read the Bible, guess what you're going to get?
Yeah.
Right. It's the Bible. Well, I'm starting things out with a utterly pointless prank that exploded all over the world for no good reason.
And kind of became something wonderful.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
And I am, as we mentioned before, going to read from the bad book.
Yep, and I am going to talk about boundaries. How the fuck do they work? And so let's just run right into this mess.
Let's do it.
Uncle Dan.
Yes.
There's an old saying.
I do know that there's an old saying.
That the corn is as high as an elephant's eye on the 4th of July, I think. Is that it?
By the by.
Isn't that it? I think that if not the letter, it is the spirit is there.
It's as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky.
Oh, good. I knew I could rely on you for
Oklahoma references.
Is that Oklahoma? Yeah,
that's Oklahoma.
There's
right
no elephants in Oklahoma.
I literally, so it says you. There may have been mammoths at one point.
According to the Book of Mormon, there were elephants in Oklahoma.
Exactly. So you're wrong, and that proves
Which is Garden of Eden adjacent. So
yeah, exactly. Just
check,
south.
match, love.
Well, I guess I'll just take it.
Dear Doug, uncles. Why don't you start doing your thing?
And anytime you want to start, Doug, that's great.
Oh, this goddamn coronavirus has forced us all to figure out different ways to communicate, to test new technologies, and to get good at things that we didn't even know existed 6 months ago. Mostly what this has led to is pantsless business meetings and a Supreme Court justice taking a dump during oral arguments. However, what's that?
A Supreme Court justice did that?
You didn't hear that?
No.
I did. Is that true?
Guys, where have you been? During oral arguments that were being done over the conference call, somebody flushed a toilet.
Oh. Of the United States Supreme Court?
Of the United States Supreme Court.
Oh, my God.
And this woman did a deep dive trying to figure out who it was, and she thinks it was Justice Souter.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have put money on... well, no, I was gonna say Thomas, but he was asleep. He couldn't have done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was totally asleep. Maybe it was the ghost of Scalia contributing as much as he did when he was alive.
Exactly.
The fucking toilet sewage.
So yeah, that happened, and we've all learned new things about ourselves and definitely about our coworkers' houses and apartments and attention-hogging cats. We've become masters of your Zooms, your go-to meetings, emails, conference calls, texts, even using Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to communicate in new ways. Well, uncles, it may surprise you to know that none of these were the first form of mass long-range communication. I'm old enough to remember when my family only had one telephone. Do you remember those days?
Oh, yeah, I do.
I was literally just thinking about that the other day, about how, like,
and no machine.
We used to want to get the phone. Young people won't understand this, but we would run when the phone rang to be the person to say hello.
Yep.
Like, it was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, and it's as if bad news never came in the 70s, right? Via the telephone. And I'm old enough to, I don't know if you guys know this, but when I was a kid, you didn't own the phone. We leased it from AT&T, or from Bell or whomever the monopoly was. We leased the phone. And you didn't own it.
That's so Brazil, isn't it? Like, you don't even own your phone.
It was very weird.
So, yeah, I mean, I remember when, that was the main form of mass communication. And, of course, I'm old enough to remember the world-changing breakthrough in tactile long-range communication that was hands across America. The world has never been the same.
No, it changed everything, didn't it?
Well, fortunately, now we have the world peace because of it, so that was
That's
lovely.
right.
What was the cause? I don't even remember.
I don't even know.
Who knows? It was just hippy-dippy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, however, today I'd like to talk about another form of long-range communication that is, without a doubt, far more glutinous and far dumber than any we've mentioned so far. Today I want to talk about crop circles.
Oh, yay!
So if you're 55 or over, crop circles are those things on the cover of the Led Zeppelin remasters. If you're over 40, they're those things from that stupid M. Night Shyamalan movie Signs. And if you're under 30, Led Zeppelin was a rock band, M. Night Shyamalan is a movie director, and crops were those things your parents used to eat in the before times. So if none of that rings a bell, well then, come with me, won't you, to a different, and if you can believe it, more gullible time and place than our current moment.
Impossible.
I 100% don't believe it.
You're about to.
Impossible.
The place is Wiltshire, England. The time is summer 1967. The New Age movement was in full swing. Crystal futures were through the roof. Caravans of credulous white people were streaming from all over the world to the California desert and Taos, New Mexico. The Daily News was lousy with stories of mystical energies, strange occurrences, alien sightings, and worst of all, silly love songs by Paul McCartney and Wings was on top of the charts. It was a weird time. It was in this bizarre time that a farmer in southern England walked out to, personally inseminate his flock. I don't know what farmers do. And saw a perfect circle of flattened barley in the center of his field, causing him to exclaim the immortal words, my gird. It's hard to overstate how big a deal this was in the pre-goop world, not least because Wiltshire was already one of the epicenters of the New Age movement. This is, after all, the home of Stonehenge, one of the world's premier henges, as well as the Stone...
It's probably the best henge.
I would it's in the top 10.
It's in the top 10 henges for sure.
I'd give it top 3 for sure.
Oh, all right. Well, agree to disagree.
This is also the home of the stone circles of Avebury, which are to this day thought to be connected with ley lines, which Uncle Dan talked about back in episode 150.
Suck it.
And the giant hill figures of Cerne and Wilmington. So this place is, a big deal to New Age, and was a big deal to the New Age movement. Yeah. So what would later be coined crop circles began showing up all over southern England, and overnight became a global sensation, leading almost as quickly to a new science, cereology, the science of crop circles.
No.
So, yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's called cereology.
You have to put the word... You spell it with quotation marks around it.
Exactly.
How do you spell it? Like cereal?
No, well, that's funny you should say. It sounds like cereal. It's cereology. And it's named after the Roman goddess of agriculture, Ceres,
right? And
not from the fact that the medium of this science is cereal grains, which would make more sense.
I was so hoping that was the case.
Well, to be fair, cereal derives its name from the same goddess, so there's that.
Right, we are.
So this dovetailed perfectly with the science of ufology or ufology, ufology.
Ufology.
Yeah. Because these crop circles were immediately identified as UFO landing sites. And remember, this was in the height of the alien abduction, cattle mutilation frenzy that was going around the world.
Right.
Before long, crop circles began popping up in Australia, Canada, the U.S., and other places around the world. Now, before
in Australia, did they swirl the other way? It's a fair question.
That's a good question.
I'm not a cereologist, but I'm sure you can find one to speak about this.
I would be so happy to find out that was true. That like the hoaxsters were doing it the other way.
The Coriolis effect applies.
That's so funny. Before we delve into who or what was causing these and what they could possibly mean, let's give a little more context to them, which will help explain how they became such a perfect snare for the weak-minded. As early as the 17th century in England, there was a phenomenon called fairy rings, which were caused by fungi, in which it kind of left a round dead area in fields of crops. Then in 1678, a pamphlet was published called the Mowing Devil in Hertfordshire.
I want that pamphlet.
It's so cute. You should look it up. It's really funny.
And is it pronounced Devil?
Devil, of course it is.
Yeah.
They told the story of a farmer who balked at the local mowing fees, which I didn't know were a thing.
It's the Ammon Bundy of its time.
Yeah, truly. So he stated that he'd rather have the devil do it, the devil cut his field, which in the dead of night he did.
Oh, I see the pamphlet. It's wonderful.
Isn't that cute?
There's a little devil.
Yeah, just mowing the lawn. This is believed to be the first story of a crop circle. However, it's worth noting that the wheat in this case was cut, not bent, as is the case in modern crop circles. So jump to 1960s when UFO sightings were all the rage, so much so that Jimmy Carter claimed to have seen one. The stories began to circulate about alien landing sites, which in some cases left flattened circles in fields. No corroboration, of course, existed, but rumors of these saucer nests began to become very widespread. Then, in 1974, the movie Phase 4 was released. The only film directed by Saul Bass, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. If you know anything about Saul,
title designer.
Yeah, almost every movie poster of the era was drawn by Saul Bass.
Yeah, and he did title sequences.
Exactly.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Yep.
He and his wife, yeah.
The movie was about a deadly invasion of ants controlled by aliens from outer space and sported not one but two taglines. The first was, "The day the Earth was turned into a cemetery." And
It really rolls right off the tongue.
I know.
Little clunky, but we'll give it to
If you
him.
think that was clunky,
It's a first effort.
How about the second one? "Ravenous invaders controlled by a terror out in space commanded to annihilate the world."
No.
It just rolls right off the tongue.
Fuck.
The only notable thing about this movie is it contains the first known depiction of a saucer nest. Then in the summer of 1976, actual saucer nests began to appear. Actual in the sense that you could walk to one, gaze upon it, and even step inside to soak up residual energy that might be left behind. And boy, did people line up to do just that.
Yeah, because if something that traveled across the universe and is likely highly radioactive,
Exactly.
that's what you want to do, is get some of
get,
that.
Get in there.
Well, isn't that the plot of Cocoon?
It is.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's what gave him the blue steel boner.
Isn't there a sequel to that movie, The Blue Steel Boner? So farmers were ecstatic to lose, a few percentages of an acre of crops to be able to charge a farthing or two to let people wander around. What was causing these increasingly more complex patterns? Theories ran the gambit from the stupid to the crazy. They were signs of alien landing craft. They were messages from one alien craft to another. Surely the dumbest form of communication. They were Gaia telling us to leave her alone. They were focal points of the Earth's magnetic field. You name it, somebody believed it.
Yeah.
The aforementioned Cereologists maintain that steel cannot burn that hot. Oh, sorry. That wheat cannot bend like that, and only microwaves could account for such a phenomenon. More scientifically minded people sought more logical explanations, such as fungi, or possibly, in the case of the Australian circles, a willy willy, which is apparently Australian for dust devil. Or even possibly, and I am not making this up, crazed Tasmanian wallabies high off opium poppies running in circles.
My money's on the willy willy. I love that.
I love Australia.
Yeah.
We need
Australia.
If we're ever allowed to travel again, let's do a live show in Australia.
I love it so much.
But they for people who speak English, they literally have a different word for everything. I don't know how the fuck it works. But.
It's like a country whose language was written by Dr. Seuss.
Right.
Absolutely.
So my favorite explanation was meteorologist.
What if you get killed by a dust devil there? Does its cause of death say willy willy on your fucking death certificate?
I mean, how many people die of dust devils in the U.S.?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Probably.
Although you've just made it a life goal of mine to die of a dust devil in Australia.
You'd be surprised. The government's big weather's keeping a lid on it.
So my favorite explanation, just in sheer number of syllables, was meteorologist Terence Maiden, who in 1980 blamed electromagnetohydrodynamic plasma vortices. So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Classic culprit. The usual suspect.
it's always the one you
gets
least
it.
expect.
That guy gets it.
Yeah. The Kaiser Sose of crop circles.
It bears mentioning that actual scientists at the time, among them Stephen Hawking and Carl Sagan, immediately recognized these as complete hoaxes and tried to stop people from falling for them. This frenzy continued unabated throughout the 1980s until in 1991, when two venerable gentlemen from Wiltshire came out and declared that it had been them all along. It turns out that these proper Englishmen, Doug Bauer and David Chorley,
Are the Mowing Devil.
that's right, they were enjoying a pint in 1976, and over their terrible English beer, sorry England, it's true.
No, it's not. It's good. Don't listen to him.
It's just too warm. That's
You know
all
what I'd
I'm
like
gonna say
is
about
I'd
it.
like a bit warmer and less bubbles, please. I'd really like to savor the taste of this terrible beer.
You need to learn to appreciate an ale. Anyway, go on.
They were shaking their heads at the stupidity of the New Age movement when Bauer said to Chorley, quote, "Let's go over and make it look like a flying saucer has landed."
From such humble origins.
It's really... So they procured a rope and a board, and in less than an hour unleashed a plague of stupid on the world that persists to this day.
Yeah.
That's
Even-
genius. What a
it's-
genius little monkey wrenching they did.
And the thing is...
If you believe that, because
Right.
as we all actually know,
Yeah.
the aliens just paid them to say that.
that's what Big Willy Willy wants you to believe.
And the funny thing about these two guys is, you know, you think of pranksters, you're probably thinking of like the Yes Men or the Jerky Boys or something like that. These are two of the most like prim and proper Englishmen.
Are they?
Yeah, like stuffy, aristocratic Englishmen.
But they just had one too many pints and said,
Yeah,
Let's have
they
some
were
fun.
going to fuck with everybody. I don't think they realized what they were unleashing, but there you go. So even though they confessed and on camera showed the world how it was done, the dirt paste was out of the tube and there was no stopping it.
yeah, exactly. It's like any conspiracy theory. It's
Yep.
just, nope,
Yeah.
that doesn't prove anything.
Yeah,
Anything, any counter evidence is evidence for.
Exactly right.
Yes. A lack of evidence just shows how deep it goes.
Right.
Although due to their confession and the fact that YouTube is chock full of videos of people making crop circles, they have faded from the forefront of most mystical-minded people. However, there are still many people who believe in their kind of mystic origins. This is, after all, the age of QAnon and Gwyneth Paltrow. So, with the addition of GPS and lasers, crop
Do you
circles...
think we're going to find out eventually that Gwyneth is Q?
Oh, that'd be so fucking funny.
Yeah, that would be worth it.
Okay.
It's just a giant marketing campaign.
I don't ask for a
vaginal eggs.
lot. I just need this.
And she's the Mowing Devil.
With the addition of GPS and lasers, crop circles have taken on incredible complexity in the last several years. You should just do a Google search.
I know,
and
they're
do the images.
bananas. How
Bananas, yeah.
intricate
and
they
so
got them.
pretty.
It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
they're beautiful.
Yeah, with simple circles giving way to fractals, portraits, and even corporate logos, and even still people worship them. So, and before you ask, yes, there are crop circle penises. So
Yay.
many penises. There are so many crop circle penises that I'm shocked that Ammon Bundy and his merry band of ding-dongs have not occupied a farm in Iowa. For as it says in 7th Nephi, chapter 9, verse 214, quote, "Where there are large penises, there you will find Ammon. For lo, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of girth, I shall fear no foreskin. For thou art my rod and my staff. Hold firm to the iron rod." Penis. So,
That's true.
of all the
That's one of my favorite when they read that in conference. That's
Yeah,
one
I
of
love that
It's very
one.
spiritual.
Of all the explanations or theories for crop circles, none are better than that of the unnamed UFO expert played by David Cross in Christopher Guest's near perfect film Waiting for Guffman, while standing outside a crop circle near Blaine, Missouri. Quote, "I've been coming out to this landing site every day for 2 years to measure it. And here's the thing. The circumference and diameter change by a few inches, yet the radius remains the same."
Yep.
Which brings me back to the number 5. There are 5 letters in the name Blaine. There are 6. Mix up the word Blaine, mix it around, and eventually you'll get Nabali. Nabali.
That's right.
The name of the planet in a galaxy way, way, way far away. I'll tell you another thing. Once you step inside the circle, the weather never changes. It's always 67 degrees with a 40% chance of rain. Oh, so there you have it. A prank gone wrong. I don't think anybody's been killed by crop circles except for, Mel Gibson's career.
I am telling you, that is a prank gone right.
Yeah, exactly.
That is
Doug,
exactly what you want.
Do you really think that crop circles made Mel Gibson an anti-Semitic drunk? Is that what you're saying?
So,
Why not?
We've just found a way to bring this conspiracy theory back to the Jews.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. It doesn't take many steps.
I'm sure the Mowing Devil was accused of being Jewish. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
His nose.
Well, that was some delicious cereology, and
That's some great grade A derp. So
yeah,
wonderful
all right, people,
stuff.
Get a board and a rope and get out into your neighbor's field
And go and ruin somebody's crops
Yeah.
for no reason.
Right. Let's fly out of here. Uncle Doug,
I am here.
they say there was a secret chord
Who's they?
that David played, and it pleased the Lord. I'm feeling I'm very musical today for some reason.
No.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
time.
What is that from? Is that from something?
It's from the song.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
What song is
Hallelujah. And that's all I know about that story.
All right. Moving on.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
The limitations of Mark's musical knowledge.
Well, we listen, guys. We've covered a lot of David's story in the Bible. We've talked about his secret, cute love affair back when he was a chord playing
He
lute
was a twink.
lute boy.
Yeah.
and had that lovely affair with Jonathan. But we haven't covered everything in his story.
We did cover the sexy dance in front of the ark.
we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Which is one of
yeah.
the weirdest stories in the Bible as far as I'm
Oh my
concerned.
God. Everything's a weird story in the Bible.
True.
So yes, Uncle Doug keeps trying to tell us about the New Testament, but I say that's premature. How can the New Testament make any sense when we don't have a solid understanding of the foundation upon which that text is built?
The New Testament, it's what's new.
Yes, and what a shitty, marshy stinkhole of a foundation it is. So,
Indeed.
one wonders, actually, if Jesus wasn't God's first attempt at starting a messianic New Testament. All the other gods said it was daft to build a New Testament in a swamp, but he built one all the same. It sank into the swamp. So he built a second one. That sank into the swamp. He built a third one. That one burned down, fell over, and then sank into the swamp. But the fourth Messiah stood. Anyway, I want to go back to 2 Samuel. That's 2 Samuel for any MAGA listeners.
2 Samuel.
It's the whole
Boom.
ball game.
Yeah, exactly. When we last left 2 Samuel in episode 40, Uncle Doug had taken us through the story of one of the Bible's few genuinely good guys, Uriah the Hittite, who was then married to Bathsheba.
And what did he get for being a good guy?
Oh, yeah. It didn't go well.
Yeah.
As a quick reminder, Uriah was a soldier in King David's army. You won't find a more loyal soldier in all the land, but David happened to see Uriah's wife Bathsheba's boobs one time, and so he had Uriah killed so that he could keep her for himself. So,
Because he's the good guy.
yeah, exactly. Sucks to be Uriah. Anyway, now, to its credit, I gotta say, this is one of the rare instances where the Bible actually explicitly says that something horrible that one of its main characters has done was, in fact, bad. Shocking though it may be, in the chapter after that whole mess happened, Nathan, a prophet of the Lord, comes to David and actually tells him that what he did was wrong. Now, considering this book's track record on condemning bad things, I'm genuinely impressed by that.
Yeah.
Mind you, he doesn't come right out and say it, so you don't last long as a prophet if you make a habit of telling kings they're shitbags.
No.
So he tells the most pathetic story about a rich man and a poor man who lived in a town. The rich man had lots of sheep and cows. The poor man had nothing but a single baby sheep to his name. He loved that sheep so much. He fed that sheep from his own bowl, and they drank from the same cup. He even spooned with the sheep to get to sleep.
Okay.
I mean, it stopped short there, so good. Then one day, a traveler comes to the
That's
rich
probably
man.
a popular story in Wyoming, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does well.
I didn't do it.
Right? I didn't either, but, somebody's got to spike that set. Anyway, the rich man doesn't want to feed the traveler from his own flock, so he takes the poor man's sheep and kills it and feeds it to the traveler, which is a dick move. Now, this is a bit of a clumsy metaphor for what David did to Uriah, but because the Bible is terrible at time, we have to remember that this was a while after all that stuff happened. By now, David had married Bathsheba, and she had already borne him a son whose name, mysteriously, was not given. So, when David hears Nathan's story about the theft of the beloved sheep, he gets furious. That rich guy's a dick. He should be put to death. At which point Nathan says, dude, it's you. You did that, remember? But instead of killing the sheep, you killed the poor guy and fucked the sheep. Crap, that didn't sound right. I mean, that you had the poor guy killed for you by hanging him out to dry on the field of battle, and then you took the sheep and married it. Anyway, the Lord's pissed is the answer. So, boom, chalk one up for the Bible. It actually got amoral correct.
I love that moment where David
Had to be a rounding error.
Exactly. I love the moment where David's like, so what you're saying is what I did was wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To which he responded, yes. Don't worry, though, that won't become a trend. The Bible will not continue to get things correct. And what is God's punishment for all of this? You guessed it. Unnamed son takes ill and dies, which is sad. But considering the fact that David had no fewer than 10 wives, in fact, he probably had way more than that, most of whom bore him plenty of kids, one kid down was kind of a drop in the bucket, really.
Yeah.
And as was evidenced by the fact that David begged God not to take his son, and fasted and prayed and tore his clothes and wept and wailed, but then, when he was told that the kid died, he just stood up and went to dinner. When his servants asked about that, he literally said this. This is a quote. While the child was alive, I fasted and wept, and I thought, who knows, maybe the Lord may be gracious to me and let the child live. But now that he's dead, why should I go on fasting? Can I bring him back? Will you pass the pepper? Thanks.
Well,
So,
he's got a point.
If you consider that in Bible time, a baby was more likely to die than live,
right.
why even include the story?
Why even include the story should be the motto of the book.
Yes.
That is, I am going to continue telling a whole bunch of why even include the story.
I love it.
So David was one offspring down, but he definitely had plenty. He had planted plenty of seeds, so he was not wanting for progeny. So let's talk about the other children of David. But we won't go into his most famous child, wise King Solomon, since we covered his best business, read most horrifying and idiotic, back in episode 43. Instead, we'll go to the next chapter of 2 Samuel, lucky chapter 13. But before we do, can I just take a minute to say that the Bible is just a shitty book? Oh, yeah. And I'm not talking about the amorality of it and the fact that the main character, God, is a bundle of contradictions that make it all absurd on its face. Look, so many people have told me that even if I don't believe that it's true, the Bible is still great literature. Fuck that.
Yeah, it is so garbage.
How can you call a book great literature when it spends page after page on mind-numbing lists of who begat whom and chapter after chapter on whether you can or can't eat weasels, but then when it comes time to tell an actual story, it breaks every rule of decent storytelling.
Yeah.
No backstory, no setup at all, no world building whatsoever. Just launch in with bare facts and string those facts together with the thinnest of threads.
Yeah.
Or hell, why does a story have to make any sense at all? Just say a thing happened, give us no reason why you told us, and move on to the next inexplicable nonsense.
Yeah, with the details of maybe a police report. Like,
Exactly.
so sparse, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, just needed to rant. That was
Have
apropos.
at
It was apropos of absolutely nothing. Anyway, David's son Amnon fell in love with his sister.
Surprise.
Yeah. Well, which is exactly how chapter 13 launches. It just is like, hey, this happened. Well,
so did Adam, if you think about it.
right?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that was his clone. Adam
Yeah.
fell in love with his trans clone.
That's right.
Anyway, so this was his half sister. They had different moms, but were both were David's kids. So Tamar, the object of Ammon's lust, was the whole sister of Absalom. Absalom was the third son of King David by Maacah, who was David's maybe fifth-ish wife, hard to tell. Anyway, he certainly wasn't anybody special in the lineup, except maybe that he was hot. Like, super sexy. Great hair. We'll get to it. Anyway, Amnon became obsessed with Tamar, and his lust was so crazed that he literally made himself sick. But, they were half-siblings, so he couldn't really have her. Apparently, there were some rules back then about what a woman, what woman a son of a king can have. Go figure. So, Amnon went to his advisor, Jonadab, who is described as, quote, a very shrewd man. So, good. He brought in a smart guy to help out. And Jonadab didn't disappoint. He devised a brilliant plot. He told Amnon to pretend to be ill, and when his dad comes to see him, request that Tamar come in and bake him some bread. There in the room where he could see her. And nobody would think that's weird because, as we all know, there's no better medicine than watching someone bake.
Yeah.
And then Amnon could
absolutely true.
request that she feed him the bread. So, that's it. That was the big plan. It's entirely unclear what this was supposed to accomplish.
The timeless art of seduction.
Right. Exactly. It's I'm frequently mystified by the rules of the ancient Middle East, so I kept waiting for the moment when Jonadab would say, and then once you've seen her make bread, she may be eligible for you to marry based on the law of wheat. Or then when she is tended to you, you may claim nurse's privilege and marry her or something. But no, the whole plan that was deemed important enough to put in the fucking Bible seems to have been a ruse just to be in the same room with her for a while.
Well, don't kink shame. I mean, I'm sure there's a Pornhub channel for baking.
I'm just saying.
Oh, for
look,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who
There's
doesn't
cake
want
farts. Of course there's one for you.
Anyway, all I'm saying is that middle school boys have more foresight than that when they're cooking up schemes, and they're idiots. I know. I was one. Oh, literature. Anyway, the plan goes off without a hitch. He fakes sick and gets to watch her bake. Amazing. But maybe there was one little hitch. Oddly, waiting for bread didn't turn out to be the very satisfying outcome for Amnon. Who could have predicted that? So he did what any Bible character would do in that situation. Anybody raped his sister.
Oh,
boy.
Yep. And then when that was done, he suddenly hated her. So great. Here's the actual
Weird,
verse.
because that's so often how young love kind of flourishes.
Yeah,
seriously,
you'd
baby, I've
think
got
that
a
would've-
meeting.
Yeah.
You'd think that would have worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's the actual verse. Quote, Then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her.
Literature, you're right.
Yeah, the poetry.
And the moral, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And then he and Amnon said unto her, Arise, be gone. Now, you might think that arising and being gone would be exactly what a woman who had just been raped by her brother would want to do, but no. Those wacky ancient Middle Eastern rules kicked in, And when you're a woman in the Middle East, ancient or otherwise, there's a really good chance those rules won't work out well for you. Not that I actually understand what the rules were. All I know is that when Amnon told Tamar to leave, she begged him not to kick her out, saying, quote, "Sending me away would be a greater wrong than what you have already done to me." So, okay.
No.
But Amnon summoned a servant and
What,
had
because
her
it's
thrown out.
rude? Like, that's just rude.
That is, look, you're being a bad host. It's one thing to rape a person, but to be a bad host.
And the bread's still in the oven.
Yeah, exactly.
You said I could watch TV.
So yeah, he had her thrown out. Having suffered both of those disgraces, first rape and then the much worse thing of being forced to leave the room where her rapist was, she tore her ornate princess dress and smeared ash on her face and put her hands on her head and went away weeping loudly. Her brother, her other brother, her whole brother, Absalom, comforted her by saying, quote, "Be quiet for now, my sister. He is your brother. Don't take this thing to heart." Lesson from the Bible: when comforting a rape victim, tell them not to worry about it.
Boy, men have always been shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not good.
No.
So
we
there
have,
you go.
We have proof.
Just chill. Jeez. But Absalom did take her in and let her live with him, a, quote, desolate woman.
You know,
Jesus.
I would not be moving in with any more of my brothers at this point. And
You'd
I'm not.
think.
Listen, I'm not falling for that baking bread thing again. Asshole.
Hey, will you bake? No, I won't. I am now not a baker.
Yeah, I'm a sous chef now. I've learned my lesson.
So their dad, David, got real mad when he heard about it. So there's that. I mean, nothing actually happened, but ooh. And Absalom totally gave Ammon the silent treatment. So there you go. 2 years later, though, Absalom, he was playing the long game. He brought in some shearers and had a huge sheep shearing party and invited all of his brothers. I mean,
What fun.
This was going to be the biggest shearing party of the year.
Yeah.
He wanted Dad to come, but Dad said no. But all the brothers came because that shearing was going to be lit. Then Absalom had his men kill Amnon, which was, surprise!
Twist.
But turned out to be a huge bummer for the party. And the DJ wasn't all that great, so all the other brothers had their valet bring their mules around and hightailed it out of there. King David first got the news about what happened from Breitbart, which apparently reported that QAnon had said that Absalom had killed all of his sons. So he was pretty upset about that. But then Facebook linked to a fact check about it from a better news source, so he calmed down a little bit. But he was still pretty upset.
For sure.
So Absalom jumped on his mighty mule and fled to Talmai and chilled for a few years until his dad wasn't mad at him anymore, and then came back to Jerusalem.
Yeah, eventually you get over murder.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, he gets it. There was that whole, dishonoring his sister sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
It all plays out as it must. But things weren't likely to be as they once were. Absalom came back, but he started rabble-rousing. People would complain that David wasn't hearing their disputes like a good judge of Israel should, and Absalom was fanning the flames of discontent. He was all, "My dad won't listen to you, so you can't get justice. Too bad I'm not the guy. I'd totally listen to you." He did this a lot, and eventually he had a bunch of supporters. So many, in fact, that he declared himself the king. He went to Hebron, which was the former capital, and he started a revolt against his dad. He even slept with his dad's concubines, which is good
This
to
family.
be the king.
This family.
Right.
Yeah, and then and the people loved him, like most of the people. You got to remember, this is the sexy guy with the long hair. He was basically the Middle Eastern Jason Momoa. So,
But by the way, though, when you said he slept with the concubines, what was it consensual?
does it matter?
Not in the Bible.
At that time, is consent a thing?
Not in the Bible.
Not in the Bible.
That consent is like for men.
Yeah.
Women don't get that.
Okay, lady, I consent. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't. Shh. Yeah. Think about the bread.
That's not for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, handsome devil that he is, it worked, and he drove his dad into hiding with what few troops had stuck by him, and Absalom became king. But David had spies in Absalom's court, and they gave him bad advice, which gave David time to prep his forces. The final battle was approaching. Absalom and his army met David's army at the wood of Ephraim. This proved to be a disastrous place to have a final showdown. The armies readied themselves, the war horns were blown, and Absalom, astride his mighty steed mule, charged into battle, his glorious hair triumphantly flowing behind him in sexy slow motion. Unfortunately, those lovely locks of his got tangled in a tree, and his mule went running out from under him, leaving him dangling there by his hair.
Oh, it's such a Buster Keaton moment, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. I'm sorry, if your mule runs out from underneath you and you just put your feet down, right?
No, not in this case. Apparently, he was not tall enough for that.
He had unusually short legs.
And was just dangling there. So he kind of just hung there for a while until one of David's men found him. And that guy went and told one of the captains in David's army, and they all went and kind of just looked at him for a minute until they figured out what to do about it.
Kill his ass.
Stupid story.
Well, David had said not to kill Absalom, but Absalom had been a dick to that captain, so after he watched him struggle with that tree for a while, he stabbed him to death with 3 spears to the heart.
Oh,
that'll do it.
After that, everything just kind of went back to the way it had been before all this mess, and David was king again. A satisfying ending to a gripping story.
Again, why?
Yeah, well, that was a fairly pointless
What
exercise.
knowledge does it impute? Like, what moral does it tell?
Well, there's that whole thing about riding under a tree when you've got long hair. So that's
I don't know if you guys had this when you were young in shop class. They'd show you those films about making sure you tuck your tie in, because we all wear ties, of course. Tuck your tie in before you operate the giant industrial metal lathe.
Yeah.
and for, ladies in shop class to pull their hair back. So I guess they didn't have those films.
Pull their hair back and gather up their skirts.
They had their petticoats. Lace up their corset.
They hadn't learned these lessons yet.
I do love the idea of him riding into battle on his donkey. You know, like his feet 2 inches above the ground.
It was a mule, not a donkey. They're
just with that little truck.
Ow! Ow, my hair! Wait, come back! Stop! Ow!
Little donkey.
God damn it. Well, now I'm just... Hang on, I think I can get free. I'll just move this over here. Oh, that's worse. Oh, God.
Maybe it's a lesson in the dangers of male vanity.
Yeah.
Right.
See?
You should
every long-haired guy we've talked about so far, his hair has been his downfall.
Yeah, and
you should have a crew cut like a red-blooded American boy.
God damn, you're right. That's how it should be.
Not for nothing, but who's the good guy in this story? Right? Like
the mule.
The guy who raped his sister gets killed, and the guy who kills him gets killed, and David, who killed Uriah and raped Bathsheba, is king again.
Yeah.
Back on top.
Everything works out in the end.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story.
No wonder he's so revered, He's such a
and really,
godly man.
guys, it's not about like the let's not bicker and argue about who killed who. It's mostly just about the poetry.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we really need to focus on.
And then it gives way to prose, and then it gives way to a strange list, and that's what I love about it. So, all right, well, let's pull the eject on this bullshit.
Bye, Absalom.
Bye.
Boys, fellas,
Yo.
hello. Listen, I don't want to linger too long on this, but we got to pass the collection plate around.
Dearly beloved.
This is one of those things. If all of those mega pastors can do it, then so can we. God damn it! So
What is the point of shaking my moneymaker if it doesn't make money?
Exactly. So all y'all need to give us your goddamn money, and some of y'all have done so, and we owe some thanks. So thank you so much to Denise, Nicole, Glaurung the Deceiver, Genevieve, and Arsino.
Thank you.
You guys
Thank you,
are
guys.
amazing. You're the wind beneath our wings. You're the gas in our engine.
You're
and
the feet beneath our knees.
And if you, listener, who isn't one of them, would like to join them in the noble quest of giving us money, I think you ought to. And the way to do it is to go to howtoheretic.com and click on the support thing. And there are ways to support us, and we love it. And that if you don't have, if you're on the PPP or whatever, and you don't have a lot of money to give us, that's fine too. But go and write a review. I'm not calling for stars this time. I'm saying yes, you have to give us 5 stars, but also write a review that says nice things about us, so that other people can find us, and that's helpful too.
Yeah, and really the stars do help. And if you have an opportunity to do it, it has a lot to do with maths and
Algorithms.
something called algorithms.
Yes.
So do that for us. We love you. That's like a digital kiss across the ether, and
Yeah.
we consent.
Indeed.
Yes.
So thanks so much, you guys.
Let's move on.
Hey, Uncle Doug,
Hello.
show me your penis.
Here you go.
Wow, you have no boundaries.
No, believe me.
I mean, it was already out.
Well, that's true. Are any of us wearing clothes at this moment?
I'm wearing intimate night things, so I guess that lingerie is included, isn't it?
Yes,
I've said too much.
And you, if I'm not mistaken, go for the lacy stuff, which I think is class.
Yeah, I thank you. I'm traditional that way, aren't I? So, guys,
I was trying to step on Uncle Doug's boundaries, but apparently those don't exist. Uncle Mark, you may need to teach us a little bit about that.
Can I put my penis away?
No, you may not.
All right.
You leave it out.
If you put it away in the same room you're sitting in, then yes. But if it has to go into a special,
It's getting sunburned.
So anyway, you know what, guys? I've really been looking at both sides of the argument, weighing the evidence, listening to the experts, doing a little soul searching, taking a long, hard look in the mirror, and I've decided it's time to build the wall.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my!
Yeah, how about that? Oh, wait.
You should chant it.
Did you think I was talking about Schindler's racist dog whistle wall that his goons used to fleece bigoted dopes out of $25 million so they could buy boats and villas in Italy?
I was hoping you were saying that.
But not build a linear inch of the actual wall. No. Good gracious, fuck that shit.
I thought we were getting on the ground floor of phase 2.
Yeah, there's a new opportunity, new leader under new management.
Yeah, exactly. 25 million, that's for us now.
So let me be more precise. Rather than walls, I'm all for building a more semi-permeable demarcation that may allow some to pass through but not others, but one clearly marked for anyone venturing close to sea. Let's call it a boundary. So,
Okay.
guys, I would hazard a guess that more than funny hats or magic underpants or tales of never seen but for sure real miraculous happenings shared in their congregations, one of the most common issues shared by any and all of our friends and listeners out there is trouble with personal boundaries.
Yeah.
In the modern parlance, personal boundaries are limitations people place on what they're willing to do or endure vis-a-vis other people, even when those people are family, friends, or intimate partners. Boundaries are good and healthy and ultimately reduce stress and lead to better relationships, regardless of what sort of relationship it is. Boundaries are things normal people have, but we're not normal, are we? And it's
or at least we weren't raised normal.
Totally. So it's not just that we three total factory defects, but most of or all of our listeners who came out of a high demand or even moderately fucked up religious experience. But why is this the case? Normal, sane parents, unbothered by fears of hell and panic attacks about their toddler children's chastity, start allowing certain boundaries to develop as their children mature. Sure, when you're a baby and you shit yourself 5 times a day and eat lunch from a close relative's teat, there aren't really any boundaries to speak of. But as kids get older, non-religiously deranged parents may allow certain milestones of privacy to develop. Never violating a serious level of trust by reading their diary, allowing the bedroom door to be shut, not embarrassing them by kissing them when they drop them off at school. And these moments can be really hard for loving parents, but they know they're teaching their young charges that they have the right to privacy and dignity and bodily autonomy. But if
like suckers,
idiots.
Why would you teach that?
But if, like me and Doug, you were raised by sex-panicked, hysterical religious xenophobes, these ideas were never really instilled in you. In fact, quite the opposite. Many of us are taught from our earliest cognition that we have none of those rights. The idea of them even existing in abstract is inconceivable to those raised in high-demand or cultish environments. Doug,
AKA good parenting.
Good parenting. Doug, were we ever allowed to close our bedroom door?
No.
Did you possess a single object or square inch of space that was off limits to constant invasion and confiscation by our saintly parents?
Nope. We had our rooms tossed on the regular.
Yeah, they seriously, like a prison. They would toss
The
our
wardens
rooms.
would come.
Yeah. And let's just take the Mormon example. Just before the age of 8, a lifelong series of one-on-one interviews with your Mormon bishop begins. They're usually twice yearly and continue throughout your entire life. Mormon bishops, unless by some quirk of professional happenstance, do not have any experience or training in child and family therapy, how to spot at-risk or endangered children, or anything of the sort. They are lay clergy called up for a few years at a time to serve in the role, and they normally have full-time jobs as lawyers or car salesmen or dentists or whatever. Mm-hmm. And from the waning days of age 7, they are part of a larger community effort to groom children to never expect to have boundaries in their lives.
Yeah.
I use the word grooming very intentionally, a word normally used to describe how pedophiles develop their targets, right?
Yep.
This is a very similar behavior, instructing children, pre-adolescents, and adolescents that they have no right to privacy, that their bodies are not remotely their own business, and even their emotions and fantasies are to be presented to an adult authority on demand. By early adolescence, bishops' interviews are nightmarishly pointed and should be legally way out of bounds, asking unaccompanied children about masturbation, sexual fantasies, as well as a host of other probing, quote, moral inquiries, right?
Totally.
And
also, like, just as a quick aside from my own life, ratting each other out.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
You're literally like, yeah, it's about as bad as violating as it can get.
Anything you tell that bishop, you can 100% expect is going to be by the time you walk home, your parents are going to know about it.
Yeah.
And then after that, Mormon boys and very often girls then spend 2 years on a mission, sleeping in the same room with a random companion, showering with the door open, and just maybe get to close it when they're taking a shit. And prior to that, in middle school and high school, dating is a highly scrutinized pantomime of normal developmental sexuality, if allowed at all. What one can read, watch, or listen to is more tightly controlled than the purchase of automatic weapons, which is, of course, encouraged. If you're stupid enough to keep a diary in a Mormon household, be prepared for that to be read on for your bishop to bring it up on your next mandatory interview.
Oh, my God.
Right?
Totally.
Mormon home teachers, essentially a couple of appointed spies, will show up at your home unannounced throughout your entire life, insisting whatever is going on stop, and you indulge their presence and prying until they endeavor to leave an hour or so later.
We should really do a deeper dive into that phenomenon sometime.
I hated the home teaching.
It reminds me nothing less than when in a movie when like the secret police in the Soviet Union come by your house.
Yeah.
And they come in and they're just looking at everything, you know, like
they've got a pen and they're kind of pushing things around with it.
Totally.
That's really funny because I was always oblivious to that side of things, and it was always just, you know, nice guys would come over to your house and they'd smile and your parents would smile and love them, and everybody would shake hands and you'd pray, and it was boring, but like it always, and I never thought of anything nefarious from it, but looking back on it, I can see that, like, yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, Mormonism was all about reporting on each other, on the self. It was all
Everything was a snitch.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and it wasn't like they were trained. You were just programmed this way from youth. And I don't mean to derail this, just really quick, like, you would look and see what their VCR videotape collection was to see if there were any R-rated movies.
Yeah.
You just kind of program that way.
Yeah, and actually, I talked about this with Bryce Blankenagel a while back, that it was actually started after the the Mormon what was it called? Brigham Young came out here and made everybody get rebaptized,
right?
And then home teaching was started then to basically have people spy on you, right? And
that was really nice of them.
It was so great. So continuing on, large Mormon families will just show up in the maxi van unannounced, wanting an evening's conversation and often dinner. We even had, Doug and I had out-of-town cousins that would be on the road and appear wanting to stay for a week without a phone call, right?
Yes.
So not a fucking boundary in sight. So now by early adulthood, you've been trained and, yes, groomed not to even think of erecting so much as a speed bump between illegitimate authority and your inner self. Nothing is off limits to those who feel empowered to take from you. Not your bedroom and what goes on in it, not your finances, not your politics, not your fantasies, your doubts, your emotional and even physical labor, and your precious time. All that is to be surrendered on demand when an authority figure says so. Well, that's fucking horrible. While these examples have a distinctly Mormon flavor, that flavor being simply a Campbell's cream of mushroom soup-based casserole, I would reckon these sorts of coercions and intrusions are very familiar to our ex-evangelical and ex-JW and ex-Adventist listeners, etc. So now we find ourselves set up and groomed for a lifetime of getting trampled, exhausted, lectured, and essentially stolen from by shitty people, or maybe even not so shitty, like parents who came out of the same pattern of abuse and conditioning and don't realize how intrusive and emotionally vandalizing they're being.
Right.
Right? We didn't know that we had the ability to say no.
Well, the highest authority in your life tells you that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, from childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And your parents reinforce it, your grandparents reinforce it, your neighbors reinforce it. So, but now that we're adults and we've left the religious institutions that groomed us for this life of compliance behind, and for the most part moved out of the houses of the parents who were actively complicit in this, quote, loving act of sabotage, and we're out in the real world, let's talk about building that fucking wall, shall we?
Yeah, because now we're the utmost authorities in all of our listeners' lives. So they have to listen to us now.
Yes. So I need to know everything about what's going on in the bedroom. So how do we start? Well, speaking from experience, it ain't easy. Especially with friends and family still in whatever anti-boundary controlling tradition you've left. For me and Doug, and again, ours is an extreme case, after years of trying, the only boundary our immediate family would even partially respect was total removal from our lives. But Doug can testify that was after 1,000 attempts to establish some level of respect that they ultimately could not and would not muster. And that's what a boundary actually is. It's a frontier of respect that you have a right to demand and enforce. Since religious parents and family never even understood the concept, grabbing the wheel of interfamily relationships and jerking it away from the expressway to Crazy Town is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
You will be met with resistance. So, you're attempting to modify the ordained order of your pious but dysfunctional family, to literally upend God's design for how the mindless cogs are meant to function in the machine. Religion teaches people to be coercive, passive-aggressive, manipulative, emotionally dishonest, and to see the world as a, to-the-death battle of good and evil. They will deploy all those offenses and defenses to maintain their control over you and their access to your time and labor. If you need to create a defensive boundary for yourself, from my experience and everything I've read, I suggest you make it a well-marked frontier rather than a concealed tripwire.
Yes.
And that means having very openly, having hard conversations with people whom, despite their thoughtless aggressions, you still want in your life. As with pretty much everything we ever discuss in the post-religious world, that will very, very much require you to be the bigger person and to do yet more emotional labor to keep your head about you through this process.
Yep.
They will try to make you feel guilty, exasperated. They'll try to make you lose control, etc. If you want them in your life, and you want some freedom and emotional health, you can't give in to any of that. So firstly, remember, you're not trying to change them. You most likely can't, so don't even try. You're trying to change what you will tolerate from them in your presence. Essentially, you're changing your environment, right?
Yeah, you're putting down your boundary, not a boundary for them, but a boundary that is yours.
Yeah. And you're building a room in which you can rest, essentially, right? And pursue whatever you determine your interests and direction in life are without their interference and their judgment and their unsolicited input. So that means, with all the love of Jesus and the patience of Job, as kindly and calmly as you can, let them know how you are willing to engage and how you are not. And what will occur if they violate your extremely reasonable requirements for further interaction. For example, if they try to re-proselytize you, say you will leave Sunday dinner and go home. If they try to coerce your children against your wishes, which is a really common thing in the post-religious world, right?
Totally.
You can restrict access to the grandchildren if you have that ability. If they talk shit about your significant other, let them know, you're taking a year off the holidays with them unless they apologize and promise not to do it again. In a way, you're training a dog, right? I know that sounds really mean, but a dog just wants what it wants whenever it wants it, right? Boundaries don't even exist. But if you're clear, consistent, and measured, and of course swat them over the nose with a loosely rolled newspaper when they're bad, and then you reward them with your time and presence when they comply, well, even a Mormon parent can learn to be respectful over the course of a few dozen decades, right? So remember,
I've seen it happen.
It's possible. Remember, despite what we were taught, our parents don't own us. They didn't the day you were born, and they certainly don't now. If they want the adult you in their lives, and perhaps their grandchildren's lives as well, they should have to respect your reasonable demands and preserve your mental and emotional health and your time and energy. You may find over time that they can't, and then you can decide if you want them in your life at all. And for a long discussion on that, you can go back to episode 103, where we talked about familial estrangement and how that gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, boundaries can also change over time, right? If a person gains your trust by respecting you and the limits you place on an interaction, you can choose to loosen up and give them more room. And the opposite is also true. If someone keeps taking when you've asked them not to, you can further restrict how much physical and emotional presence you allow them. It ain't easy, especially in a relationship that has a long history, but I really think over the long term you'll be much, much happier, right? And this applies to all relationships, not just parent, adult, child ones, right? Friends and siblings and roommates and podcast partners and neighbors and work friendships, etc. Your right to take care of yourself, to expend emotional and physical energy for whom you choose and when you choose. You have a right to declare certain topics or conversations off limits. And you have a right to demand that you, your partner, and your life choices will not be subject to shaming. Other people also have a right to tell you to go jump in a lake. And again, you can reevaluate having these people in your life, right?
Yeah, because this isn't about, like, you get to say something and then they don't get to do anything about it. This is just you get to decide what you are willing to do.
Yeah.
And they get to decide what they're willing to do. And if those two things don't match up, or if there's if there's some sort of problem between them, then your recourse is to not be a part of it anymore.
Yeah. And consistency really matters in these circumstances, I find.
Very much so, yeah.
So now there's also a flip side to having grown up in a world without personal boundaries. For a lot of us, when we finally escape whatever orthodoxy trained us not only to not have our own boundaries, but also not to like ourselves very much, paraphrasing our friend Lauren O'Neill from last week's show, the possibility of being liked by people from outside our experiences can be pretty fucking thrilling, right? It's like going from seeing black and white to seeing in full color all of a sudden. When it started happening for me, Lord, I was like a kid in a candy store. If there was a boundary violation I was guilty of for, probably a decade or so after I got out, was oversharing. No, Mark, the woman next to you on the bus does not want to hear your life story in real time. No, Mark, the new friend you made at the party is not ready for the 200-page mental police report about all the child abuse you suffered just yet, right? And it takes a long time to see and understand that people have comfort levels and boundaries, and to learn to see the cues they use to tell us we've wandered into the red zone, like crossed arms and looking around excessively, lots of ahhing, looking at their watch more than once, right? So it takes some time to learn how to know when someone is ready for that kind of friendship and when someone is maybe more of a casual friend who maybe can't or isn't interested in the emotional labor required to carry your cross for a while. And you will have both kinds of friends, right?
Sure.
The key is listening to people in those moments and look for the cues of discomfort or a sense of panic, like they would very much like to hit the eject now, please. Another boundary I finally realized I needed for myself after being taken advantage of by some emotional thieves was the incredible realization that I didn't have to like everybody that came across my threshold. Doug, laughing, knows that period of my life where I had allowed too many people in and then realized that quite a few of them were just taking advantage of my desperate need to be liked. And they were bleeding me dry, right, on several fronts. So obviously I've gotten over that now. I don't care if anybody likes me because nobody does. But once I put up a bit more of a restriction on whom I would do what for, were there some grumpy assholes? Absolutely. Did my life get 1,000 times better? Oh my fucking God, it did.
Yeah.
So there's a million ways to talk about boundaries because it's a complex issue. But just to close out, I'm just going to ask you guys what sort of experience you've had with, learning to respect boundaries for yourself and in other people.
Well, I mean, it's we certainly have a unique perspective as atheists because, like you said, we all, very few of us were young atheists or born atheists. Most of us became atheists at some point in our lives. So we all have experience with religious people, and they're kind of the boundaries that they have and they don't have.
Yeah.
And, we are oftentimes a minority at dinner parties or holidays. And so we're for those very reasons, we kind of have this very unique perspective on those boundaries. So what's appropriate to talk about, what's not. And all of them share those boundaries together, and you're usually the outsider that has to, put down markers and have those difficult conversations and have that really uncomfortable moment at dinner where you're like, I don't want this to be a subject anymore.
Yeah.
And if it is, I'm going to leave. So I think we've all kind of gone through those moments. It's just, we've talked about this quite a few times on the show, that our boundaries have changed dramatically as we've come out of religion, those of us who have. Whereas before, you couldn't talk about certain books, certain movies, certain subjects, certain music, certain art forms, and now you can. But, you find yourself always kind of trying to modify your boundaries to accommodate the majority in this case. But I think it's very empowering when you finally say, you know what, exactly to your point, Mark, this is all I'm going to take. This is where I'm drawing this line.
And I ain't taking no more.
Right. Like, I don't want you to proselytize to me anymore. And I don't want you to talk to my kids about that stuff anymore. And you know what I mean? There's a true, it's hard and it can be very painful, but it's incredibly empowering.
Yeah. And especially you've grown up in this family. You just think this is the way it's always got to be. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
And they're going to complain and say, this isn't how we do it, and blah blah blah, and they're going to feel horribly hurt and offended, and I get that,
yeah.
and that's real for them. So it's not like you should just ignore that, but you can guide them through this process, through the process of your boundaries being set down, and and here's the thing: it gets so much easier as you go on. The first few times can be just
super hard,
incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And then as you go on, they're more used to you setting boundaries. You're more brave about it because you've done it a few times. And then it gets fun and it feels good and it feels strong and it feels great.
Super empowering. And then, especially with people you really, really want to keep in your life, it is an act of kindness to help them learn to be kind, to ask them to be kind to you.
Yeah.
Right? And it does.
Yeah, you're not being mean to them. You need to understand that you're not being mean to them by putting down your boundaries. You're actually being kind because you're telling them what you are and aren't comfortable with explicitly, so that they don't step on something that they shouldn't.
And that look, I could just walk away from you, but I value you and I want you in my life, right?
Right.
And this is true of Mormons, and I think it's true of most Christians. They will be like velociraptors testing the fences, man. So
they will. It's so true.
That consistency and really putting your money where your mouth is, and say, I will get up and walk out of here.
I will say this. I really appreciate, Uncle Mark, the fact that you talked about also not violating other people's boundaries.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can say that when I first left the religion and took my first steps into learning that I was allowed to have boundaries other than what I had been taught, I think I started, and I've seen this phenomenon happen with people newly out of religion, I stepped on a shit ton of people's boundaries.
Totally.
I would just be like, "Ha, atheist, God is stupid. You're an idiot for believing it," and blah blah blah. And like I was being the dick in that situation.
It's super common. It's a very common response to getting out of a high demand religion, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, while I understand the impulse, it's also nice to realize that like they have places to be too, and it's kind to be aware of other people's boundaries, even if they haven't gone out of their way to make them explicit.
Yes. We can play Pictionary and we can play Jenga without needing to talk about geopolitics or religion or, swearing a lot, in front of people who don't like that. It turns out that you can enjoy each other's company just for the sake of each other's company.
Well, and you can actually
have
have those conversations as long as you are right in your head with knowing you're not trying to be provocative.
Right.
Yeah, right. That it's you can have the conversation. If it gets too heated, you can say, okay, let's talk about something else. But Dan's totally right. It's like, you're not the only one with boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you need to respect that other people have a right to kind of a level of comfort in their own home and in their own life.
And that doesn't mean that they have the right to tell you how you have to be. So, if it's a balancing act, and that's the thing.
It's a negotiation.
At some point, when I realized that I, as a no longer Mormon person, could say whatever fucking swear words I wanted to say, I felt there's this thing where you feel like, well, I've learned that I have this right.
Yeah.
How dare anybody ask me to monitor my language around them just because they're pussies about it or whatever doesn't mean I have to watch what I say. Well, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
They have the right to sort of put down their own boundaries, and if their boundaries are that it hurts them to hear certain words, if you want to be around them, respect their boundaries, and every now and then I let a swear slip in front of my in-laws or whatever, but they know that I'm trying, and so I say sorry, and they say okay, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's always a negotiation. Every relationship that you have involves negotiation.
And everybody's got rights to have kind of, under their own roof, kind of how they like things to run. And some people want you to take your shoes off. You know what
Those
I mean?
are called
Like
Canadians.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it's a sign of respect, and if you want that respect in return, you got to give it. And like you said, it's a negotiation.
And as hard as it might be in relationships that have some toxicity in it, right? Where
Right.
you have a lot of resentment maybe, or a lot of anger towards a certain person. It's really hard to see their boundaries as legitimate. But I think hopefully you're going to get some respect back by paying some, right?
Well, let's all remember the fundamental truth that when your relatives, whoever we're talking about here, have a prayer before the meal, when they bring up certain subject, they are trying to proselytize to you. But no different than if you were to bring up, Christopher Hitchens, what he said about a certain subject, you're trying to convince them too. So, like we just kind of the intentions are actually good or quote unquote pure, but we've got to leave that away so that we can have a relationship that isn't based on trying to convince someone of something.
Back and forth.
Well,
Yeah.
And we need to decide this is about deciding where to draw those lines. And so you might be okay with them saying a prayer before the meal. That's fine. That's your thing. You go ahead and do it. But don't ever call on me to say the prayer before the meal.
Yeah, if you're in somebody else's house and they decide they want to have a prayer, I think it's pretty shitty, in my opinion, to make a big deal about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. I'm not advocating saying, how dare you? I'm just saying that the fact of the matter is,
or humming the La Marseillaise while they're doing it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be an asshole. But we are all trying to proselytize each other at the end of the day because we all feel like we're right. So if that can very much poison a relationship if it can't be managed correctly.
Yeah, and if it can't be managed correctly, maybe that's not a relationship you should be in. I guess.
Yeah,
that's the point.
And that's and in the end, the final solution, if you can't reach an agreement, is to walk away.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
All right, that's, boundaries.
Dipping a toe in the idea of boundaries, which is pretty new to a lot of our friends. So there we are.
And that does it. I'm walking away.
Get out of here.
I don't like it when we talk about boundaries. So
now you're making me angry.
All right, this is done. I'm putting down a boundary.
All right,
we're done.
Bye.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, listen, if you have a better book than the Bible and you want to tell us about it, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you suspect you might be the Mowing Devil, call us and tell us about it at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. You can also mow me up there on Twitter at howtoheretic.
And also a lovely thanks to our patrons, as always.
And thanks to Cody Layton, who is not one of David's shitty kids, for editing the show.
And thanks to you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Fare thee well.